Hello, welcome to Moon Magic with Eye of Horus. I am Tracy Hawkner. This is Heather Roan Robbins, our favorite Twin Cities astrologer.
And we're here to talk about the new moon in Cancer. Cancer is the sign of the crab. And in the water sign, it's the leader of the water signs. It begins the season. We've just had summer start. And the symbol of a crab is a creature that can play on the surface, walk sideways, but dive down deep into the waters, dive down into the soul. But it also is soft and squishy on the inside, and because it's so tender, it's got a hard shell and sharp claws on the outside. It's well defended personally. So I ask you, where in you do you also feel a little tender at this moment, a little soft and squishy, diving down deep in your inner worlds, and may end up feeling a little defended or guarded on the outside? Notice that, and notice that between relationships right now, our defenses are a little hyperactive, we're a little edgy, we can get crabby, quite literally, and to soften that crabbiness or become conscious of it, own it when we are, forgive each other for being a little crabby, and take it within to use it in a good way. How do you find working with what elements can help people deal with their possible emotional overload during this time, or their sense of their boundaries aren't so strong?
A lot of that, I think, especially when we start getting trine with Neptune, anybody who has empathic tendencies can get a little too open, a little too receptive, especially if we're dealing with family. Then we start getting into previous patterns with folks we're a little too familiar with in the first place, and it can become difficult to tell the difference between one's own emotional responses and somebody else's that you're just picking up a little too easily. And this is a really good time to, we're talking about the shell of the crab, maybe working instead of on reactive defensiveness, some purposeful boundary work. Where do we draw the line between our own reaction to a situation and soaking up somebody else's reaction a little too personally? There's all sorts of things we can do toward that kind of work. Myrrh is one of my favorite incenses, resins for this sort of work. It's very good at putting up some healthy shielding, a little bit of filtering type boundary. Also, there's a stone called prehnite, which is just a lovely shade of green, by the way, just very pretty.
Sea green.
Water or green, and that one is also really good for helping us kind of distinguish between our own emotional responses and what we might be picking up from someone else.
This new moon, this tender-hearted new moon, is hitting right on top of some very difficult aspects for the last week, and that will still be resonating this week. So I want you to be really tender to your heart and tender to the heart of the people around you. Mars is just finishing an opposition to Uranus, and both of those are squaring Pluto. Mars is the physical motivator. It's also our temper and our edginess. It's the military side, our immune system, our defenses, opposed Uranus, the unexpected, the eccentric, the excited, the electric, and both are square Pluto, the Lord of Death and Rebirth. Now, this may be great for the World Cup soccer. It's very physical and unexpected and alive, but it's a little tricky on the home front, and we're certainly seeing it echo out, both in unusual storm patterns, which have really stirred up the grounds, and in the political machinations on major hotspots on Earth. Make sure your home is not one of those political hotspots. Notice this underlying energy that can still cook up through the culture. And if we get irritated easily, it's easy to drop down into that fuel. With this beautiful new moon in Cancer, it's also that self-protective quality. If you feel that coming up, or you see someone getting a little sparky and edgy, how can they comfort their heart? How can you comfort their heart and say, what would make us feel safer here? Do you have anything, tools for helping them stay grounded? There's also only Pluto right now in an Earth sign. Everything else is in water, air, or fire.
Oh goodness, and relying upon Pluto for grounding
is
not
really
normal.
grounded. Grounded in death and rebirth and the other life. But what did you what rocks help with grounding? What tools help with grounding?
Hematite is always my favorite. It's kind of a silvery black stone because it is essentially an iron ore. It really helps get a person connected to the iron core of this planet. Very safe, very secure stuff. Oh goodness, any of the jaspers as well. If somebody is after something with a little more color to it, if life is already heavy enough in your world, you might want something with a little more joy to it. Any of the jaspers are very good at soothing jangled nerves. Desert jasper has such a beautiful rainbow, for instance. Wonderful stuff that way.
Wonderful. And to remember, feel when things get emotionally revved up around you, to drop your tailbone down into the ground, to really feel yourself connected, like your tree roots reaching into the soil. Just hold still for a minute, especially now before July 1st as Mercury stations and turns direct. On July 12th, we have the full moon in Capricorn opposite this new moon, and that is the highlighting the balance between our work and our home life, our interior world and our exterior ambitions, and how can we help them be aligned rather than feel oppositional. All that grounding work that you're talking about will help us tie in to the power of the Capricorn moon. It's just going to be important at that full moon to not manipulate one another, to really be in control of yourself and in control of your destiny, and not try to be in control of your family members. So using that time to ground, remember, get centered, and make sure that you constellate. That's to work with the stars rather than to have a disaster, which means dis against aster, the stars.
So thank you for joining us for Moon Magic with Eye of Horus. Find us online at eyeofhorus.biz, and please join us again next month.